As the evening darkens and the crew becomes a little more melancholy and check the waters for threats, a pretty elf who has been in the rigging for most of the day comes down to the deck and, picking up a instrument, sits atop a barrel. She begins to play a song which seems to be very familiar to the crew and seems to calm their nerves.
In the place where the windows fall over the floorboards, in the house of azure trails blood to the lake. There's a woman who's fallen that the old man can't feel warmth, but he does not tremble and he does not shake. So he follows the artery up to the orchard, where the blaze under earth makes its glory expel, and the particles all lining up for its torture. But he does not falter, no, he does not fail. To the walls of grey moss and the gardens of glowlight, where the frames of great archers such power to wield, and he whispers and bellows with sparks in his sight, but he loses his footing 'cause he does not yield. And so into the caves they made blue into blurry, and the seasons they slowed like the depths of the lake, and the ones that all love him they started to worry. But he does not tremble, he does not shake. No, he does not tremble and he does not shake.
And ahead through the darkness looms the jagged rocks that mark the entrance to the bay. The ship is pulled by strong currents and the captain is using all of his skill to guide the ship safely forward. The entrance to the bay is a series of jagged rocks, and the current has channeled through the opening and has caused an unpredictable movement to the water. Smashed upon the rocks are the skeletal remains of several unfortunate vessels. The crew is skilled, and that they have worked together for some time is clear. They move as one, built upon trust and experience, each knowing the tasks without being told. The captain has his face as a mask of concentration and pilots the ship skillfully through the entrance and avoids the same scared fate as those of less fortunate. As you enter the bay, the surrounding hills act as a windbreak, and the strong breeze lessens and the current becomes less strong. Ahead, a dark mouth of a cave appears as nothing more than a shadow until moonlight reflects off the ship and shows its truth. The Moxie glides gently through its opening. The scent of the lake feels more gentle here, and the area is more serene. So the ship has entered this very large cave, of which there is several skeletal remains of ships that have unfortunately come to an end.
I think it takes Violence a moment to realize that the rocking and the wind has died down and that they're gliding through on this stiller water, and she peels her hands off the railing that she was clutching because that was a lot more than she expected for a sailing into a grotto.
Norland's looking at the ships as we pass by the remains of the ships to see if there's any that might strike a chord with any recollections from his studies, if he's ever seen anything or heard of any of these ships or anything. Like maybe some of them have some historical importance, and he's looking for anything that just strikes a memory.
Yeah, he does. And they didn't give me anything, so you can make it up.
As he's looking, he spots a familiar bit of a mast. Let's say it's got a golden inlay of a symbol that's traditional from his homeland, and he can recall that there was such a ship that sailed, several hundred years ago, and it carried some important bits of I'll say acquired knowledge of foreign lands. Like, so there's lots of trade, and he thinks that there would probably be a lot of interesting journal entries that he could find on board such a ship. And he kind of looks to the captain and points out, we should go check that ship.
The crew is looking somewhat apprehensive. They have clearly never been here before, and any ship graveyard to a sailor is not something that makes them feel well at ease. Why do we need to do that, lad?
For the sake of the acquisition of knowledge, of course. Why would you do you have an objection to that?
I do. We're not here for that. And Violence is busy buckling on her armor.
As she notices Dyra clinging to her leg, he finally lets go. He peers over the railing. This place is scary.
It is oddly ominous, considering how quiet it is. I almost preferred the stormy, well, not sea, water.
I'm surprised there's as much light in here as it seems to be.
I am a little concerned by the number of wrecked ships here. Is this something we need to be concerned about?
What is that moving in the shadows?
I'm not looking at it, whatever it is. I don't wish to know.
Captain, have you been here before? Do you know where you can offload us?
Nay, lass, I've never been anywhere near this place before.
Well, you sailed it well.
I'm a good sailor, with a good crew and a decent ship.
How do you think you'll get out of here if the current's all coming in this way?
Where there's a will, there's a way.
Oh, well, Dyra's slinked back behind the railing and ducked down, probably midship level.
Norland would have been close to one of the sides, but he's probably not so bold as to be like leaning right over a rail or anything.
Okay.
He might have taken the moment to look when he thought he saw something, but now he's probably turned back to be closer to where the captain is to talk to the captain about, we should go investigate that.
Yappy's at the side just wherever sort of everyone else is. It's not going off by herself.
Yeah, Violence was midship. She had her pack and everything handy there, and she was just holding on for her life, apparently, to the railing. Now she's looking around. She's less concerned with what's moving in the shadow and is more interested where this there's got to be a spot here to offload.
Moss covers the walls and ceilings. It flickers with a faint violet light, almost like a candle inside a gem. The cave smells like a beach after a storm, and all is still and quiet within, except for the occasional drip of water and the lap of the waves. The cave ends ahead, and it opens onto a sandy beach with a touch of violet light from the glowing moss. The sound of a distant waterfall can be heard. The Moxie drops her anchor, and as she does so, she pulls against a rope that is pulled across the cave. Only, it isn't a rope, but rather a web.
What's with fantasy games and spiders, I tell ya. Sorry, Dyra, what did you say in the shadow?
That is that a web?
Well, it does look a little bit like one, doesn't it?
What kind of creature would create that? And having said that, I realize what kind of creature, but the size of it.
Well, that is the question, isn't it?
But Violence will start looking around to see what might have caught the attention of that web getting taut, and maybe point it out to the captain. Captain, if that is indeed a web or some kind of alerting sort of rope, we might have company coming.
And you can see the water rippling from two directions, closing upon the ship. And it is initiative.
That's not good.
What comes over the side on both the port and starboard bow look like unusually large dock spiders. They look as angry as a spider could possibly look, and both are a swarm. And the one on the right, and they scurry forwards and arrive at Violence. Maitreya has come up behind the captain and Noland. Bites. It is going to attack Violence. So they have came over. They're a swarm. They're about 2 feet long. There's like 3 of them, 4 of them, and they're just scurrying forward, dripping water coming over the deck with surprising speed, and they will attack.
Why did it have to be bugs? As they swarm over Violence, start climbing up her legs and onto her breastplate and stuff like that, she just slams the butt of her maul onto the deck, shaking off the spiders on there, and slams her foot onto the deck as well, and the ones that were climbing up her fall off back onto the deck. Fortunately, not able to get through her armor at the time.
This huge spider spins a web and flicks it at Nolan. It strikes his leg and arm, and the tacky material has not locked him in place, but he lacks the strength at the moment to break free. His left arm is hindered, as is his movement.
Yaffy, who is standing right next to Violence and seeing the form of distressingly large spiders attempting to attack her, is going to react to them.
Okay.
I have 14
Are you
to
hitting?
attack. I'm trying to
Which
hit
one
the
you hitting?
swarm, the one right next to
Both
Violence.
swarm. Okay, the one right next to. Okay.
Yeah. So Yaffy holds out her hand, and a bright red flash erupts from her palm, arcing over Violence and striking the swarm of spiders that were attempting to clamber over her. And that will do 4 damage to said creatures.
momentarily startled by the flash of light over her shoulder that causes her to hesitate just briefly. Then she brings up her maul and brings it in an underhanded swing, scraping the almost head-size end of it along the deck and hopefully into a number of these spiders.
Nice.
Whoa.
That's good.
Hitting them for 9.
How do you want to do this?
4.
Ha! They're
The
smooshed.
Red Rock game of golf she makes use of and sends them careening out into the water. Broken carcasses everywhere. So then Violence will stride across the deck around the other crewmen over to the other swarm.
Given that I'm trapped in a web, is the captain also there, trapped in a web?
He is not.
So 4 is or 9 is a miss, anyways.
I believe a 9 will be a miss. Now that this monster lady has come up to them, they are going to try and attack her. And they do! Holy crap, 9 points of damage.
And wow,
Turnabout's fair play, apparently.
Yeah.
it is.
So you see them swarm onto her in a terrifying. These are foot-long spiders. They're crawling around, and one of them somewhere finds a gap in the armor, possibly at the back of the neck, and it rears. It bends its body, and you see the fangs, and they penetrate the back of Violence's neck. And behind you, unless literally about 15 foot away from you, is a 20-foot spider.
Yeah.
Well, Dyra hasn't really turned around to look behind him. He pulls his bow off his back. He knocks an arrow and unleashes it towards Violence at the spiders.
Towards
Give me a roll.
short bow. There you go.
Nice.
12.
And that's
5
a
damage.
hit. Just.
Just wow.
Cool.
Skittery little buggers.
All right, so the one that was on her back, an arrow, it slams into the back of its abdomen and flies off and into the water.
All right, just to be nice for this turn, a giant spider comes down next to Dyra and Yaffe. It is
It's very nice.
huge. It casts the shadow first, which is how you notice it's there, and then its legs start to chitter onto the deck. It is attacking some of the crew who are attacking it and knocks a couple of them overboard with her large legs and grabs one and impales them onto the deck with her fangs.
Is less than pleased to note that the largest of all the spiders has decided to relocate itself to where she and Dyra are standing and is going to desperately attempt to retaliate against its presence. And
it does
11's not gonna do it. Yaffe is taken aback by the sudden presence of the giant spider. She had been a little more focused on the swarm of smaller but still very large spiders that were attacking Violence on the other side of the deck, and she reacts too late when she realizes that the largest spider of all is directly above them and attempts to fire off a bolt of eldritch energy, but it goes wide and crackles away into the distance, presumably striking the cave roof or fizzling out before it hits it.
Having had the fangs of the little one sink deep into her neck, she screams and she's about to try and rip it off when it goes sailing off with an arrow. She just nods back at Dyra and takes her maul, even as she's pausing to eye the huge spider that's over by Dyra, takes her maul and tries to do another underhanded swing at the remaining spiders on deck to get these things out and away so she can focus on the big target. 13 attack, 12 damage.
Nice.
Jeez.
She swings underhanded at it, and this time it doesn't go sailing off into the water. It just smears around her entire head of her maul as it crashes against the railing and just leaves a gooey ichor. She then turns and screams a battle cry, and she will be using her bonus action of Second Wind as she moves towards the big one. Yes, 3 whole hit points back. It's still better than nothing. And she repositions herself, getting ready and hopefully attracting its attention and away from both Daira and Yaffe.
The captain runs over and with a dagger cuts Norland loose.
That is fine. I will come to the top of the stairs. I will shoot a firebolt at the spider. And that is going to be a terrible attempt at that.
You are next to it. It is big. It has impaled a sailor through their chest. They definitely are not surviving that wound.
Oh dear.
He draws his short sword and sneaks in behind this ginormous, ugly monster of an 8-legged thing and stabs. Roll to hit. 15.
Is the hit?
He crouches down and stabs upwards and kind of misses, and so he does a bit of a pirouette and slices down with his short sword and lops off 2 of her legs on the rear of her body, and green mucousy viscous fluid starts pouring out and she screams in pain.
She doesn't like that. She doesn't like that at all. Okay, so she spins around at where this rather painful attack came from, and she is going to try to...
Well,
There you go.
you're probably okay.
Yeah, 14 is my AC. She lunges forward with the fangs bearing menacingly, and bits of poison are dripping out, and she's all like, "Nyah, nyah, 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 nyah." And Daira falls back onto his back and holds up, grabs a nearby barrel, and the fangs bury deep into the barrel. And one of the sailors yells out, "No, not the beer!"
Yaffe holds out both her hands, and between them first there is what looks like a small ember, which rapidly grows until a stream of thin flames begins to shoot out from her hands towards the spider. And as it hits her, it makes a rather sickening crackling sound, and an acrid smell begins to fill the air as she takes 6 points of damage. 12. Sad, but oh well.
Noticing it first going after Daira and trying to shake its fangs off this barrel that it's sunk its toothy fangs into, and then the fire from Yaffe, Violence will step one more closer to the railing there to make sure she's got a good line up on its backside, and is going to try and cripple its spine by bringing her maul up and over and down on top of it.
It is not looking very well, though.
Norland will move a little bit closer so he has a clear line of sight to the beastie. Then he will point a finger at it and mutter a incantation, and some darts stream out of his fingers, fly towards it. 3 motes of energy. For 13 points of force damage. Well, we'll just say the maybe the beast is when Violence hit it with her maul, maybe the thing reared up a little bit, and as it did that, the 3 little missiles flew from Norland's hand and struck it right in the underside. And it just collapses back down forward and maybe just ever so close to the ale barrels, but not quite. And it, with a thud, it hits the deck of the ship.
You gained a level.
Oh,
Yay!
So Violence is going to smash it a couple more times just to make sure. Double tapping is a good thing. And then if there's still hurt people on the deck, she'll look around and call for help on that. She probably has a doctor, right?
Yeah, the elf is a cleric. And Dorivar is also going to help.
After she's done pummeling the thing, she will also just kind of stagger back against the rail and clap a hand to her neck where she's bleeding. I guess she did the fighter thing where she just flexed her muscles and sealed off the vessels. That's second wind.
So Dyra gets to his feet, shakes his head. What? This. Oh, are you okay? Violence? And he gitters over. Oh, it's got
he skitters.
thing on the brain. He he meeps over towards Violence and checks her neck, and maybe applies a bandage and sees if there's any poison that needs.
Dyra, quit fussing. I'll be fine. They can take a look at it, and I point both to Dorva and the elf. They can take a look at it afterwards. Just keep an eye open for any others.
Okay.
I really hope
Okay.
there aren't any others.
Yaffy, do you think we could take any parts off that big thing and sell them?
You're almost dead, and you're worried about selling stuff off a dead creature?
Well, soldier, right? We did what we needed to in the field to ensure that we could pay for the stuff that we needed to the next day. So
Yappy will take a look at the large spider corpse to see if anything looks particularly sellable. The fangs or the eyes, maybe. Some people might want those for alchemical reasons. I don't know. I suppose we could try and dig them out. It doesn't sound a pleasant task.
I just continue on talking to Dyra, kind of trying to take my mind off the pain as well. Is that you've heard that an army and stuff travels on its stomach, right? That keeping them fed and everything. Well, that's one of the ways we keep the coffers full and to pay everybody that participates in the army. So everything goes into the pot.
Right.
Gesture back at the carcass.
By hacking up your enemies, your big hammer, absolutely. And he's looking up and down the hammer and the viscousy blood that's covered all over it. And how you what? Your enemies must fall before you.
It's either them or me, so yeah, I prefer if they did. I'd rather not get into a situation where it's quite so fierce, but we do what we have to.
At least a blade to the heart is less gruesome.
There is that.
Wow, and he shakes his head. All I can hear now is the crunching of the skin and bones beneath your warhammer.
Maul. Warhammer's much smaller.
Do spiders have bones?
It's satellite bones. Maybe its carapace.
I just drop it on one of the little corpses right beside where we are by the railing and listen to the crunching sound.
Perhaps you could build a shield from the spider's carapace. I could use one of the fangs as a blade.
Well, it'd be quite the trophy to show.
Feel free to pry it out with your crowbar.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Do you want a fang? It's quite something to show your new friends.
Yeah.
They are strange. They look almost like glass. I don't really know. Well, I'm not a spider expert, but I've never seen one that looks like that.
Maybe Norland knows.
Possibly. A magical creature?
Dyra's just realized the crew, and so he's ripping up pieces of cloth to try and help.
One has been wrapped in a sheet, and they have 4 that have been wounded, and 1 appears to have been poisoned.
I
think
saw
he needs an antidote.
There was a 1 before that.
That's an improvement. You didn't ask if you should use a crowbar on any of them medically.
Thank you. A crowbar's useful as a splint.
I suppose, although when you asked about it, we weren't dealing with broken bones, but a knife wound.
In fairness, at the time, there was a crashed cart in the way. I thought that this person that was stabbed could have perhaps just fallen off.
I see. Yaffe is looking at the ship that Norland pointed out earlier. Why were you particularly interested in that boat?
Because it was a ship from ship that I read about. Got to do with the history of Induracia.
Well, there's something magical over there.
Something magical. Did
Hmm.
you cast a detect magic? How do you see magic?
I can just feel it. Something over there is magical. I don't know
Okay.
what.
That's interesting. That makes perfect sense to me, as it was a ship that had traveled far and then was lost. So who knows what kind of mysterious treasure they would have carried.
Maybe we should investigate? I don't know how we'd get to it, but
We'll have to convince the captain to steer the ship towards it.
They have a smaller boat which could be used to get to it.
I am perfectly happy to wait. Let everyone catch their breath.
During the short rest, I'll use a hit dice for healing.
I think I get my spell slot back on a short rest, being a warlock.
I think you do, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's the only... I didn't take any damage, but I do get my spell slot back, so that's nice.
All right, good to go. Clean off my maul and my armor and tie a tourniquet around my neck for now. And
Around your neck? Oh dear.
pad
It's a
the
bad
back
place
of
for
there.
a tourniquet.
Yeah, well, pad the back so that the armor doesn't rub on the wound there. And row us over to the other ship, I guess.
The ship is next to an old wooden dock that extends into the cave, and much of the wood is rotten. It creaks and cracks, and Violence has to be a little bit more careful due to her size and armor. By its side is the vessel, which is half sunk into the water, where it now sits on the bottom of the shallows with webs covering its surface. There does not appear to be, though, any spiders of note.
Dyra will search the vessel.
Yaffe is also searching and got an 18.
I will keep an eye open in case there's any more spiders crawling out of the woodwork.
Ooh, look at that. 24. my investigation.
Dyra's got his bow in his hand. He's too concerned with keeping an eye out for spiders.
The healing potions. I'm not surprised at all that that there would have been healing potions on there, given that they were sailing a far way away. Basically, they had sent birds or whatever. Somehow they had arranged to send messages back and forth up to a time, and then the messages stopped. And that was one of the great mysteries of Indurasia in history. So they had these. We knew that they were on a long journey, and suddenly all the good stuff, all the good stuff, all the messages just stopped being relayed back and forth. Given that they were traveling so far and wide, it doesn't surprise me at all that they would have had healing potions. The cookbook, that's an interesting curiosity. Norlin was actually seeing if he could find any journals on maybe other reports on foreign lands or something, and so maybe he comes across this cookbook, and maybe there's some recipes that are just not native to Indurasia. So it's this might be interesting to see. I wonder if there's any special properties that these foods contain or something.
All right. So Yaffy has been looking around the ship, and not specifically in any one area, but she is trying to find whatever magical quality she was able to sense from back on the ship we traveled here on. And after a while, she makes her way down some steps to. Well, she doesn't get all the way down. She walks partially below the deck, but finds that it is actually partially sunken and full of water. But she is able to see a chest with a faint light glowing around it. So she's going to return to the others to see how important we feel this is to try and swim to or otherwise retrieve before attempting to do so herself. Well, I think I found what's magical here, but it is slightly underwater.
Ooh. You need someone to swim down and get it?
Oh, that's right. You like swimming. If you want to.
Sure. Water's like my second home.
You can't breathe underwater, though, right?
Right. But I can hold my breath.
Okay, just be careful then. And she will show Dyra what she's talking about and point out the chest that is slightly glowing.
Dyra will remove all of his equipment, shirt, and just have a dagger tucked away in his boot and dive into the water down to the chest.
As you get close to the chest, from the little small illumination that is coming from the cracks where the lid joins the base, you can see that it is clutched in the arms of a skeleton. The skeleton is not moving, though the tattered remains of the captain's uniform that he is wearing is drifting back and forth on the faint current that is within.
And Dyra sort of carefully peels the hands of the captain away from the chest. He'll salute the captain, pick up the chest, and push his way up to the surface.
Well, I'm glad nothing went horribly wrong.
Treading water, he drops the chest over the side into the boat and then climbs into the boat. That was refreshing.
Norlin rushes up to the chest. His eyes are almost glittering with excitement. He's, let us open this chest. We must see what.
It belonged to a captain of some sort.
How do you know?
Poor fellow laid at the bottom, clutching this as if it was his last piece of worldly treasure that he was taking with him to the grave of the underworld.
Oh, whatever it is magical.
Vi will take her cloak off, by the way, and put it around Dyra's shoulders so it doesn't get too cold. With that water.
Thank you.
Oh, Norland, do you want to open it or should I?
Maybe I should open it at least.
Please.
All right, I will do so. He weaves his hands and attempt to open it.
There is no water on the inside of the chest. It is perfectly dry. There is a fancy set of goblin dice which bounce out of the chest onto the ground. They are quite fancy and polished. There is a very fine folded card, about 5 by 7, at the bottom of the chest.
Why would the captain be holding a box of dice in his dying moments?
I don't know. So Dyra picks up the dice and shakes them, and then
He's already
rolls
doing
them
it.
against
Well,
the
I was going to
chest.
say, Norland tries to reach out and clutch his arm before he can roll them, but obviously not quick enough. But he's just saying, maybe we should wait till we're on dry land before we mess with things that we don't know anything about, that are in a chest that detected magical.
And a very brief cold wind hits you as he rolls the dice and then fades.
What are you doing?
Done. Then that's fine. Sure. I'll open it up then. Do it.
And as you do so, you are surrounded by little illusionary fireworks and fairy light.
Very nice.
It reads, "You have been invited by special invitation to the Revels Fantastica."
Not only have we been invited, we've been cordially invited.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yappy's holding out her hand and sort of running it through the illusionary fireworks.
Does
Pretty.
that do that every time you open the card?
That's a good question. Close it again.
I will do so.
See if it does it again.
I will open it again.
It does not. And in its place on the left-hand side, in the writing that you can sort of see in the image, the small print, has all of your names now.
Ooh.
Well,
That cold wind
that's
comes back and my spine shudders.
unusual. Does that mean whoever had received this originally never opened it?
That's what I'm thinking.
It would be interesting to see a journal from that ship. Maybe there was a reason that they didn't attend.
Oh, I'm sure. A wonderful cursed invitation or something that now has our names, curiously.
Well, you said this was, Nolan, you said this was a fancy ship from a lost nation?
Yes.
Maybe this was like an ambassadorial invite to somebody and it was being delivered to them?
Could have been.
Has anyone ever heard of any Revels Fantastica or whatever it says?
I haven't. It sounds like a good place to go and meet new friends.
I mean, revelry is always fun, I suppose.
And food and drink. And I could go try my luck with my new dice.
But we don't even know where this is, this thing that the invitation is for. Unless they were coming here, and it's here, but
Well, it seems like a big deal. Maybe somebody can find something in like Fawn's books or something about where this revelry thing is.
You know, given that the lack of information that the card had, I'm sure that because it contains our names, we will be provided instruction to get there.
we won't find it, it'll find us.
Correct.
How ominous.
And this is why I don't truck with magic.
Oh, well, magic's not so bad, really. Depends on the magic.
I just don't understand it.
Well, there's all different kinds.
I'm sure.
Norland reads books, I have a deal with the devil, you know how it is.
You have a deal with a devil?
Something like that.
You mean like a really bad person or
No.
like a supernatural thingy?
Yes.
And you seem to glow when you say that. You must enjoy this pact with the devil.
Not overly, no, but it is what it is.
Falling for the bad guys, huh?
Not that kind of pact.
On the shore beyond, you can see an onyx obelisk, which is pointing up through the sandy shore.
Well, that's unusual. I think.
Well, I mean, this seems to be a place, so usually there's something at a place, so I assume it's just kind of directing us that way. Well,
All right. I guess Norland will approach.
It is onyx, as you can see, and it is covered in writing.
Can I understand what the writing is? I do.
Can you read Elvish?
I
You
can.
better believe I can.
I'm sure the elf and the half elf should be able to, right?
Okay. If you can read Elvish, or anyone who can read Elvish can read it.
Norland will read it like all regally. A phantom forever stares straight to the ground, but swings sweetly of starlight. She will look to the sound.
A swing
Just
or sing? Because if it's a sound, it sounds like it should be singing.
swing.
And there is a sound.
what does
It
it
is
sound like?
coming. It is a high pitched but not unpleasant sound, much like a musical instrument. The sound is emanating from Yaffe.
Sorry, that seems to be my pocket? Hold on. And she is rummaging through her pocket and pulls out a string of pearls.
Which are now glowing, and a different tone now comes from the obelisk. Yaffe is suddenly yanked forward, and as the two touch, you feel collectively like a leaf on a gentle spring breeze being lifted. You arrive at a stone outcropping as the dark light fades. The tunnel ahead glows dimly, but there is a faint blue glow in the distance. The air tastes fresher here, and the sound of rushing water is muffled by what might be voices? Yaffy.
What?
Is Yappy is slightly less frightened of the spider now
all
that it's
nyang,
gone.
nyang, nyang,
Yeah,
nyang,
yeah,
nyang,
yeah, yeah,
Oh my God.
yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry, that just cracked me up.
No,
when
it
you-
was.
And it shrieks as parts of its fire is now covering its body.
Oh, Emily's going to be in a crow's nest.
I would.
No, you are.
I am?
What?
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 I don't know.
Yeah.
Wait,
A
what?
galgasm.
A chasm.
A chasm.
What's
He's
happening?
broken himself up.
Do we have antioxidants? I mean, antioxidants.
What are you talking about? Yeah, I'm really worried of free radicals. I've heard that the best thing to do is, if you eat a lot of blueberries, it's really good at
Gorovar's a free radical.
It's gotta. Yeah. Okay. So,
antioxidant. Antioxidant.
no, antidote, poison, antidote, poison stuff. Not poison, antidote. Not poisoned antidote.
Poisoned antidote. Oh. Okay.
Oh no! So now that's a thing.
My goodness.